Alright, so if you haven't heard the big news, and it's pretty massive as it gets, and depending on who you ask, the sky is falling or it's already dead. Stadia has announced they have effectively shut down Stadia Games and Entertainment, and there is a lot of reactions in different directions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break down this announcement. I'm going to give you guys some information that I've been hearing from the inside. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts all around, and I have a lot of thoughts on this, just as I know a lot of you do as well. And for my part, I don't exactly have the most positive outlook, but I'll have something for all sides to listen to, positive and both negative. So feel free to comment down below your thoughts, and as always, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and hit that notification bell. Alright, so before I go further, of course, my heart has to go out to those who have lost their job with this, especially in these times. It's a very hard time, so my thoughts are with them, of course. If you guys haven't heard the news, in a blog post written by our very own Stadia Grim Reaper, Phil Harrison, he essentially informed us that they will no longer invest further in bringing exclusive content from their development team, Stadia Games and Entertainment, so essentially no more cloud exclusive games are going to be made, and that Jade Raymond has decided to leave Google to pursue other opportunities. Jade was essentially the head of Stadia Games and Entertainment. He also mentioned that in the months ahead, the developers and employees working on Stadia Games and Entertainment will be moving on to new roles, and that they are committed to working with the team to find new roles and support them. Now, just so you guys understand, now a lot of people are going to be losing their job, because exactly what can a guy who's working in the art department go do at Google, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, a lot of people will be moving on because their passion is just building games. So yes, people are going to lose their jobs despite that statement he made. Again, my thought and heart goes out to those who are affected by this change. But unfortunately, the wording in this press release does not give a ton of confidence, and we'll break down several aspects of what was said. But Phil Harrison goes on to mention that in 2021, they are expanding their efforts to help give developers and publishers the ability to take advantage of our platform technology and deliver games directly to their players. Now, I didn't like the wording right there. He goes directly to their players. He didn't say Stadia players, so yikes. Several times in this post, he also goes on to talk about partners quite a bit, and I feel he really emphasized that part of it, which in a roundabout way for me really does question the future of Stadia in regards to what direction they're going in. So here's what I heard, and this was something that happened a few weeks ago, and this was something that was eternal. It wasn't negative, it was actually positive for Jade Raymond and the team. Let's just say it was a showcase of sorts, and I really won't go further than that because I don't really know a lot of details. I don't know what went down or what played out or how it went or how long in the works it had been. But the timing for me, this is certainly off, because I would have told you a few weeks ago, Stadia's future is immensely bright, as they were really focusing on the future. And from all intents and purposes, we saw that from the interviews with Jack Buser just months ago, who told us that at least 400 games are coming to Stadia this year and the next in 2023. And as far as I know, that is still in progress, as Stadia exclusive games from SG&E would have only amounted to just a handful of that number. But back to Jade. I'm being told that there was a bit of under-delivering that happened, and well, Jade has a history of just kind of leaving when the project just doesn't look like it's going to get off the ground. Happened at Ubisoft, as I'm being told. It definitely happened at EA, and now at Google. Keep in mind that in this press release, it does state that she decided to leave Google to pursue other opportunities, so take that as you will. So what do I think actually happened here? Well, this from here on out is going to be full speculation on my end, literally. I'm just a guy guessing and giving my thoughts. And I think potentially the success of Cyberpunk 2077, mixed with what was being shown in regards to whatever projects they were working on at Stadia Games and Entertainment from Jade, convinced Google that just this isn't the way to go. Too much money will be spent on this, no guarantee of any form of success. This is just going to lose money. Meanwhile, it makes sense to just find third-party developers and publishers to make games on Stadia and go from there. Maybe potentially just build the platform that way, or just be the tech for companies like Ubisoft and EA and others who want their game out there in the cloud and to their players, like Phil had actually said. Like I said, maybe get potentially more in people's hands at the end, take their entire budget of what was going to be used with Stadia Games and Entertainment, and go ahead and refocus all of that and put it on big publishers bringing big games to Stadia, whether exclusively or not. Because like I said, maybe they saw the success of Cyberpunk 2077 and said, why aren't we building our own games when we can just let others do it for us and just have it on Stadia? You might never know that potentially cutting Stadia Games and Entertainment could have actually led to saving Stadia itself, as the player base probably hasn't grown the way that they were hoping, and the future just didn't look promising for what had been presented by Jade. No matter which way they are going or what they are doing, right now for me, they haven't exactly laid this out the best they could in my opinion. My ultimate thoughts on this go a bunch of different ways, so bear with me. For me, on a personal level, Stadia has always been at the forefront for two main reasons. One, the tech is honestly the best out there, and that hasn't changed. But two, it's because Stadia is a true platform, or at least it was, and the focus was on the future Stadia exclusive cloud games that we couldn't see anywhere else. I've said this 100 times on my live streams, in personal thoughts and videos. This is always what has set Stadia apart from other services. Now, to me, Stadia is just the better performing, but not by a whole lot compared to other services. To me, Stadia at the very worst is now just like a GeForce Now or Luna equivalent service in regards to just hosting a bunch of games. There really isn't much of a difference now. Those services host developers and publishers on their tech and stream those games to their users. Stadia is now in that same boat going forward. But the biggest issue that I've had since this announcement has come out is now that consumers will have lost a lot of faith in Stadia. This is something we can't overlook. The fact is, Google Graveyard is a thing. My defense for it never becoming to that point was always saying that the future investment Stadia has been showing in things like their first-party studios is a huge thing to look at, and a big part of that is now gone. Now there is almost no barrier to go and say, okay, we're all done with Stadia altogether and we're shutting the service down. A lot of people feel that way right now, and you're not wrong or should feel bad if you feel that way today. I won't be here to sugarcoat it, but I'll give you a counter thought anyways in a second if you're worried. Essentially, no roadmap after this announcement was made other than to say, trust us, our focus is to continue to provide the best cloud platform we can. Guys, that's just not good enough, period. And you're not going to convince a lot of people to continue to further buy games from Stadia without a clean and concise roadmap. That is the #1 thing they need to do, and I hope we hear something soon. With that, I still see a future that they can go from here. No, I'm not trying to convince you to see that future with me. I'm also not going to sell you on a bright future as well, because even I don't see it at the moment, at least not yet for Stadia. But the fact for me remains on a few fronts. Cloud gaming is set to continue to grow over the next decade by leaps and bounds. I can literally throw you source after source of how explosive the revenue is set to make in the years ahead. Trust me, if Stadia goes under, I'm in no way worried about cloud gaming's future at all. But the fact is, cloud gaming will still be the more versatile and convenient way to game, especially as the internet infrastructure continues to improve as it will. Google got into the game because they knew that. It also knows that it has just plain the tech at the end of the day. Stadia is by far the most impressive. I do think that Stadia will continue. I do not think that it will shut down anytime soon, but unfortunately that confidence has all but eroded in almost every consumer who's been using Stadia or who thought about using Stadia in the future, or those who have said, see, I told you so, which is plenty of people, by the way, out there today. One could even argue that this is the better approach though. Now, I'm not sure I'm going to argue that, but what if Stadia does focus on bringing just big games like Call of Duty Warzone and big title after big title? The fact is, we never saw a single true Stadia exclusive, so in that sense nothing has changed. And most people were requesting and asking about big games all the time, like FIFA and Call of Duty anyways. They weren't asking about first-party games that Stadia was making. In the post by Phil Harrison, he says that they are focusing on working with our partners, and we believe it's the best path to building Stadia into a long-term, sustainable business that helps grow the industry. What if he isn't wrong, and they have now found that this is truly the best thing that they can do? Luna's doing the same, so is GeForce Now. These services all wouldn't exist if they didn't think that they can make some money. Again, that doesn't mean that they won't shut down, but I'm just saying the future is less exciting for these services, but of course more sustainable because they are so really far behind the game compared to Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation when it comes to making first-party titles and stuff along that nature. Maybe just refocusing on becoming more of a Netflix style and just getting more games is indeed the future. But overall, this is going to be my final take here, because this video is long enough. I don't know what Stadia's future is going to look like. The fact is that this has to be addressed immediately in regards to a roadmap. Consumers will lose and have lost faith in Stadia. Future consumers will consume the press that this has gotten now and think that Stadia is dead, by the way, which there's a ton of headlines out there already like that, We need to know what's going on, not just because the consumers as well, but what about the publishers and developers? Why would they continue to make a game on Stadia if they think this is a sinking ship? I think we need a bit more transparency than the statements that were made by Phil Harrison. Will they just focus on their partners like mentioned in the press release and just become a tech used and leveraged by big publishers like Ubisoft or EA? Or is there truly a roadmap for us consumers and Stadia gamers? We at the end of the day unfortunately have come away with more questions than answers, and potentially a Stadia Connect or something to really ensure the future of this platform is going to be needed. But if today you guys feel that this is a bleak future, I don't blame you. And if you're not worried and you've always just wanted to use Stadia as a cloud console with all the versatility it brings, you might be fine, but we still need some answers at the end of the day, especially when we were told that 400 games were coming from here until 2023, and that is going to be key. Alright guys, with that, I know you guys have a ton of thoughts on this news. Feel free to let me know all that down below. I'll be reading your comments as I always do. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're new as well so you're always up to date on this Stadia and cloud gaming news, and hit that notification bell. I'm Sunny, and as always, I'll see you guys in the cloud.